was good with it. I saw it and I said,
My wife said it was.
did you say?
Sorry, Daryl, I'm sorry.
You all right? Good evening and welcome. I'd like to call to order the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors work session Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, 4 p.m., Board Meeting Room, 39 Bank Street, Chatham, Virginia. Ms. McCluster, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Tucker?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Here.
Mr. Scares?
Here.
Mr. Cheshire?
Here.
Mr. Ingram?
Present.
Mr. Dudley?
Present.
Mr. Dalton?
Here. Are there any items to be added to the agenda? If none, I'd like to, we'll move to item 4. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. How about a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we're ready to vote.
Do we have to say?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton, do you see that on your screen?
Yeah, I hit yes.
You hit saves?
All right, save. Got you.
That's it.
All right.
Perfect.
Are we good?
That didn't show.
Good. There we go. Yep,
Okay.
we're good. Thank
Good.
you.
All right, motion passes. Thank you all. For the citizens' convenience, all work sessions and committee meetings are now being recorded and can be viewed on the same YouTube location as the Board of Supervisors business meetings. Please remember that the board work session is designed for internal board and county staff communication, discussion, and work. It is not a question and answer session with the audience. Accordingly, during the work session, no questions or comments from the audience will be entertained. Respectfully, any outburst or disorderly conduct from the audience will not be tolerated and may result in the offending person removal from the work session. As a reminder, all county citizens and other appropriate parties are designated by the board's bylaws and are permitted to make comments on the hearing of the citizens of tonight's business meeting. Item 5, presentations. A, it's going to be the River Street Broadband. Is that Scott Budd or? Welcome.
Gentleman from River.
Thank you, sir. Rob Taylor with River Street
Rob,
Networks.
thank you. Yes, sir.
Got an update for you on the fiber to the home build that we're underway right now in the county. Just a quick overview. What we're looking at is a project that's going to pass a total of 14,397 locations throughout the county. This includes what we call CAF2, that's Connect America Fund 2, RDOF, which is Rural Digital Opportunity Funds. Those are both funds by the FCC, as well as the VATI 2022. Does not include VATI 2023. That has still not been announced yet. We're hoping that it's going to be announced after the General Assembly finishes up this weekend, but we're not sure when. My understanding from DHCD that those awardees are on the governor's desk, but the announcements are being held up. Moving on, this is what the project looks like. The CAF2 funding is all state and River Street Networks. That's about a $10 million project. In conjunction with that, we're also doing the VATI 2022, which is partially funded by the RDOF funds, ARPA funds from both the county and the school board, as well as state funds and our matching funds. That's a $75 million project. In total, we're looking at building out approximately $86 million of fiber in the county over the next 3 years. Here's a breakdown of the phases. We've already started construction on phase 1. Phase 1 is the Renan and Sandy Level area. After that, you have Strawberry and Drava. Strawberry should be known as Callens, but that's where the data hut is at, is on Strawberry Road, but really that's the Callens area. Then you have Brosville, Ringgold, and Chestnut, and then we're coming back up north with Brightville, Gretna, Hurt, and Lakeside. Now, each of these build locations, my understanding is each a 120-day contract. They're being built by two separate large contractors. So you have Renan and Sandy Level are under construction now, and they should be completed within the next 120 days. At that time, we should be able to start connecting customers in those areas, and then we'll move down to the next level, okay? Doesn't really show up very good on these screens, but on the other screens, you can kind of see what the Sandy Level and Renan service areas look like. Here's what the Strawberry and Java area, and you can tell that Strawberry is mainly, like I said, is the Cowlins area. Here's the Brosville, Ringgold, and Chestnut service areas. And then we move back up north to Lakeside, Gretna, Brightville, and Hurt. Something's going on with my clicker here.
Internet. Just messing with
Now, that's beyond the
Come on,
internet.
man. Just trying to make things funny.
All right. So here's some pictures of work that's currently in process. You'll see the vehicles that we have, as well as equipment staged, as well as flaggers that we have along the routes where we're working. Here's some pictures of work in progress, as well as where we've already put in some what we call handholds. Those are the locations where the fiber's in the ground. It's under the ground there, and the handhold cover, you take it up, you can service the fiber. Then we have the pedestals. Those are the items next to it that are standing up, that normally that's where we bring the fibers up so that we can splice into them there and do the drops out to the individual homes and stuff. So what you see are pictures of handholds and pedestals, as well as, if you look closely, the actual fibers in the ground in those locations as well. So currently, we've got 75% of the fiber final design completed. We have 100% of the locations identified. So that's what holds up the final design. So when you put out your preliminary design, that's where we get the funding at. You have to come back and you have to get your site acquisitions done. And say you might have planned in your preliminary design to acquire a piece of property in one area, and then you had to move a mile or two down the road. Well, when you move that mile or two down the road, the amount of fibers that you now had to run might have went from 144 count to a 200 count fiber. So that kind of adjusts the bill design a little bit. So anyway, 6 of those sites were existing River Street sites. Again, keep in mind, River Street had bought the old People's Mutual telephone, so we had locations already in the field. 5 sites were procured through local, either through public or private locations, and they've all been secured at this time. We've got 35% of the county staking completed. That's where we're going out, actually putting marks on the road, as well as putting stakes in the ground. I think you could see in the previous picture some of those stakes that were sitting up. That helps us then turn around and get the VDOT land use permits, or the right-of-ways and easements that we need. We got 30% of those completed. Currently, again, as I said earlier, the Sandy Level and Renan areas are in the process. We have 2 plow crews and 2 boring crews in both of those areas doing work. There's been about almost 11,000 feet of fiber installed so far. This was as of last week. I didn't get the numbers today. I asked for them, but I wasn't able to get any updates. But this was as of last week. 11,000 feet of fiber have been installed, and 4,300 feet of conduit. So what will happen is, where we can get in the easement in the right-of-way, we'll plow the fiber in. So we'll run a piece of equipment that actually has a blade behind it that plows the fiber into the ground behind it. Typically, we like to get that. VDOT requires 30 inches. We like to get it between 36 and 40 inches deep, if at all possible. Those areas where we can't plow, we have to do boring. And what we do there is we typically will bore in and put in what they call an interduct. It's an orange color conduit that will then pull a fiber through later on in the project, okay? So we've installed 12 pads. You've seen some pictures of those, as well as 1 vault, which you saw that the handhold, okay? Materials shipments are arriving weekly. Currently, we have 100% of all the stubs and handholds that we need for both of these project areas. We also have 100% of all the fiber that we need on hand for the Renan area and 40% of the fiber we need for Sandy Level. 20% of the pedestals are on hand for Renan and 50% are on hand for Sandy Level. Again, shipments are arriving on a daily basis at the lay yard that we have, which is over there at the Pittsylvania County school bus slot. And we're right now looking at trying to work up a marketing program with the county to do a groundbreaking ceremony in the Riceville, Java area sometime end of March, early April. That's all I have. If there's any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Chairman, I did.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for that update. I can't remember if it's called a pod or a hut or whatever that is where the fiber initiates and then goes out.
Yeah, the data hut?
Data hut, got it.
Yes, sir.
There was one that was supposed to be put at Brosville, somewhere around Brosville School. Has that taken place yet?
No, sir, that has not been set yet. That one has not, as well as the one, the reason why they call it Strawberry Road is because there's a data hut going on Strawberry Road as well.
Okay, do you see any problems with that, though?
No, sir, not that I know of. As far as I know, those have been ordered and should be on their way.
So we can be sort of possessive on this next question. So when do you suppose you'll start running cable in the Brosville area, Brosville, Cascade, Axton? And did you have a picture of the pod you was talking about?
I don't have a picture of the data hut, no, sir, but I can get one.
Data hut, sorry.
Yeah, I can get one and have it sent over
That's
to
okay.
the county. So if you look, again, phase one is 120 days. So then phase two would start 120 to 240 days. So it'll start, it'll end at phase two will start 120 days after now. So that should end in 240 days. So that means phase three should be starting next year at 360 days.
And let me be broad in this question. So considering there's a competitor in that area, is that going to cause you guys any problems?
Well, the competitor in that area, you know, if they're not already overbuilding their infrastructure, when we come in the area, we'll have a superior product that they're going to have to contend with. Sure. Now, keep in mind that not of all of Brosville area has been funded. So if we look closely at the Brosville area right there, not all of that has been funded. We'll be building out fiber throughout a majority of it, but if you want more details, I can get more details to you exactly how many locations in the Brosville area will be passed.
Yes, sir, I would appreciate that, because when I look at this map, as far as the color variance, I can't make heads or tails out of this.
I got you.
So you got it.
Okay.
That's my questions. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Any more questions, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Jessup.
As far as work crews, are you still able to find the labor that you're needing?
So my understanding is we haven't had issues with the construction crews that we're using right now. I know that we're trying to set up a program with the New College Institute to help train up not just those type of crews, but crews to install the drops into the homes. We're also interviewing applicants out of the DCC networking program to bring on people there to help with the networking inside the home as far as connecting those homes up.
But as far as right now, you don't have the staff for connecting.
So right now, in this area, we actually have between the Danville office and the Gretna office, I want to say we actually have 10 technicians on staff. So we feel like we're pretty covered when it comes to this area because we already have a presence in Danville as well as in Gretna with existing offices. However, we know that we're going to need more technicians as the project expands outside of Pittsylvania County. And that's what we're working towards right now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, I did have one more question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Ingram.
Mr. Taylor, so let's say that there's a certain area that's not covered or not approved, if you will. So how would citizens in that respective area go about requesting service be provided?
So one of the things that they should do is there's a new program out with the federal government called the BEAD program, broadband, BEAD, B-E-A-D. So with the BEAD program, that's tied to the new FCC maps. And so individuals can actually go to the FCC webpage and click on their address and then put in that we do not get the service, right? Because if they're not already funded, we've been told that they already get it greater than 25 and 3. Now, with the VATI 2023 application, we went through and tried to locate all the locations in the county that were not being supplied 100 by 20 service. So we've got those identified as well. But if citizens can go to that FCC map and put their address in, it's saying that they're not being provided the services that supposedly the FCC has been told in the past that they were, then that should put them into the pool to where we can get funding for them either through the federal or through the state program. Now, keep in mind also, part of our agreement with the county is that as we build these areas out and we get to a certain penetration rate, there is going to be revenue coming back to the county to assist with broadband in those more rural areas that are even harder to reach.
There was a situation where there was a road that wasn't serviced, and the closest provider was Comcast. And I don't recall the name of the team in Richmond, but they did their survey, lasted about 2 weeks, came back and said, sure, we can run it, $35,000 up front. And I thought, shame on you. So just keep that in mind.
Well, the state now does have what they call the long loop program. It's called LECAP, and that's the long extension customer access program. And that allows funding to get to those areas where you have a person who maybe the existing service provider won't go beyond a certain distance, and that person has a low to medium income. It doesn't have to be just low, but a medium income for that jurisdiction. Then they could submit a request, and the state will help to pay that funding. Now, keep in mind, if you were to ask me what's our average cost per mile for fiber, it's about $50,000. So at $35,000, if you're looking at going 3/4 of a mile or so, that's probably about right.
It was 1 mile.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So you're saying,
One more. Go ahead.
where I live at, Comcast doesn't even come out where I'm at. Real lucky if you get a cell signal.
Yes, sir.
And I know a lot of people contact me. I live in the Ringgold, Rock Springs area. And so right now, a lot of them don't have anything. So they could go to this and put it in as far as CS funding? Or
Yes, sir.
request?
Yes, sir. Not only that, but you can also, we're developing a map that we'll have out here soon that the customers can go to our site, go to the Pittsylvania County, put their address in, and it will show whether or not they're in a location that we're building to. And if they're in a location we're building to, what's the timeline for us to hopefully be able to get them service. Again, it's not ready yet, but it is being worked on.
Please let us know when it is.
We will.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any more questions? Mr. Taylor?
One quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible that you could provide a link to maybe Mr. McCluster so that you can actually post it on the county website for the FCC?
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving to item 5B, Virginia State Route 41 Traffic Study Update. We got Mr. Crider and Ms. Bowman. Welcome. How y'all doing?
Thank you. Hello,
Good.
everybody.
Good evening,
Evening.
Chairman Dalton, board members, staff and audience. My name is Brenda Bowman, and I reside in the Chatham-Blairs District. I am speaking for a group of over 50-plus businesses on the commercial corridor of Route 41 in the Chatham-Blairs and Westover districts. My comments will run approximately 7 minutes for the work session, and I will have a condensed version for the 3-minute limit tonight at your meeting. As I'm sure you are aware, there was a fatality in front of Tuscarora Shopping Center on January 21st, where a 66-year-old woman died and a 17-year-old girl was seriously injured. Within a period of 2 to 3 hours that same afternoon, there were at least 2 other accidents in the same proximity. I originally had planned to ask that Supervisors Warren and Scarce, and hopefully with the support of the entire board, submit to VDOT for a traffic study for consideration of the traffic signal along this commercial corridor of the Mount Hermon area. However, once I started my investigation and gathering data to present to you tonight, and as a result of my conversation with Jay Craddock with VDOT, I learned that this corridor was already on the radar of VDOT. My recent inquiry to VDOT was just 2 days before a cutoff deadline for the Project Pipeline Planning Program that identifies solutions to transportation needs in Virginia. Through the Project Pipeline Planning process, projects and solutions may be considered for funding through the Smart Scale program based on key factors such as improving safety and reducing congestion. Because of Jay's quick action, the 41 corridor study has moved up for the upcoming year. We are asking that you as the board support the importance of this study. Mr. Craddock is here tonight to explain what will happen over the next couple of years in regards to the study. The Pittsylvania County line begins at Orphanage Road on Route 41, and while most of it is in the Chatham-Blairs district, part of it is in the Westover district. For the next 20 miles to Route 47, Callens Road, there is not one stoplight or blinking light, with the exception of a flashing light that comes on and off twice a day at the opening and closing of Twin Springs Elementary School. There are approximately 50 businesses within the 4-mile stretch from Orphanage Road to R&L Smith Road, Robertson Lane, which is Route 863, to include, and I'm going to list them. I know you have this in your packet, but I think it's important for you to know the businesses that are there and are supporting this study or asking for it. Hughes Memorial Home, Mount Hermon Baptist Church, Mount Hermon Fire Department, Christ Episcopal Church, Food Lion, Goodwill, First National Bank, 2 credit unions, Family Dollar, Dollar General, Angus Fresh Meat Market, Norris Funeral Home, Pittsylvania County Mount Hermon Library, Mount Hermon Animal Clinic, Danville Dental Office, Pittsylvania County Landfill Convenience Center, Haymore Garden and Nursery, Sova Health Clinic, Newcomb Carpet, Terry Blakely State Farm Insurance, Allen Dalton Photography, Oaks Monument Memorials, the Mount Hermon Courtyard, 2 storage complexes, 6 restaurants, 3 service stations, Oaks Auto Parts, and 3 other auto repair businesses, Dewberry's Computer Repair. And the very important, soon to be relocated, Bubba's Ice Cream is coming to the Mount Hermon area next door to Reuben's 2 restaurant. So now that I've educated you on the wonderful assets that we have in the Mount Hermon area, the traffic will certainly increase. And as tonight, I'm inviting neighbors from throughout the county and Danville to visit and patronize our businesses. I have received data that indicates there are approximately 2,050 households within a 3-mile radius of Mount Hermon Shopping Center. This area is one of the most condensed 3-mile radiuses of population of a district in the county. With an average of 2 to 3 drivers per household, this amounts to at least 5,000 to 6,000 citizens in the immediate 2 to 3 mile radius traveling in and out and across Route 41. This does not take into account the thousands of commuters traveling to and from the county and the city of Danville every day. A 2021 study revealed the average daily traffic at the Orphanage Road intersection was 16,000. Norris Funeral Home reports it has an average of 350 plus funerals per year, which means a daily increase of traffic at the time of the funeral. As with generations gone by, unfortunately today we do not see opposite approaching traffic stopping or slowing for funeral processions. Mount Hermon Baptist Church is located approximately a block from the shopping center and the funeral home. In addition to Sunday and Wednesday activities, they have a daily preschool, and funerals are often held there as well. By way of comparison, the intersection of Route 29 and Tight Squeeze Road has approximately 50 businesses around that intersection, and it has a stoplight. In addition, the Brosville station area at 51 West and Bury Hill Road have fewer businesses but more traffic, and they have a stoplight. From the county line at Orphanage, the speed limit for the 4-lane road is 45 miles an hour. At Mount Hermon Baptist Church, the road drops to 2 lanes, yet the speed increases to 55 miles an hour, which makes no sense because that speed increase is only for approximately a half mile and runs in front of Twin Springs Elementary School. Only when you get to the intersection of Route 863, R&L, and Robertson does it drop to 45 again due to the turning traffic, then immediately returns to 55 all the way out to Route 57. If VDOT does not approve a speed reduction along the commercial corridor, a traffic signal or several signals with warnings approaching would at least slow traffic down. I obtained from the Pittsylvania County 911 Communications Department the following data. Between January 2018 and August 2021, a little less than 4 years, there were 450-plus 911 traffic accident calls for that stretch. A further search showed a total of 600-plus, going all the way out to 57 to Callens Road, for a 5-year period. This averages 120 to 150 traffic accidents per year, or approximately one every day. There have been 5 fatalities on Route 41 during that period, 4 of which were on that stretch from Orphanage through the Mount Hermon Commercial Corridor. The 5th one was a little closer to 57. There are 3 entrance and exits in front of the Tuscarora Shopping Center and 1 entrance exit on the side, all of which are directly across from Ma Possum's Restaurant, Norris Funeral Home, and Dollar General. This intersection is Mount Hermon Circle and Oak Forest Road. For purposes of this upcoming study, suggestions from citizens and business representatives are made for consideration of a traffic signal at one or more of the following intersections: Mount Hermon Circle and Oak Forest Drive, at Tuscarora Shopping Center, in close proximity to Golf Club Road and Mount Hermon Baptist Church, Jeanette Drive and Route 41 at the entrance to Fairmont Estates, and Orphanage Road and Route 41 at the county city line. I have signatures, and you have them in your packet, of over 50 of the businesses along that stretch, either the owners or the managers in the Mount Hermon area, are all in support of this study. And the stories that I heard when I was visiting the businesses of the near misses or the wrecks, or people saying, I'm just scared to come to work and back. So something really does need to be done for that area. I thank you for your time in listening, and Mr. Jay Craddock is here to offer more information and to answer any questions you may have. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Good afternoon. As Ms. Bowman mentioned, this section of 41 is going to be part of this year's, this round of the Project Pipeline, which is a relatively new program started in 2021. The purpose of the Project Pipeline is to develop a steady stream or a pipeline of high-priority projects through studies to feed into the funding programs we have. You all are familiar with the Smart Scale program, where on even number years, localities can submit projects, and they get scored against other projects throughout the state, and if they're selected, they're funded. Well, in order to apply for one of these projects, it takes a lot of legwork. So this project pipeline will do all of that work. And all that work will be ready when it comes time to apply for a project. You'll already have the safety study done and proposed solutions to the issues. Just to go over a little of how the logistics will work, the process is expected to take approximately 14 months. Phase 1 should last about 2 months, and that's the phase where we'll be diagnosing problems and brainstorming alternatives. And then the next 6 months will be spent engaging the stakeholders, which stakeholders is, all different VDOT staff and subject matter experts, county staff, MPOs and PDC staff, local law enforcement and local emergency services folks. And also there'll be a period for engaging the public, and this will be done online through a Metro Quest survey. And that's just looking at one of the studies that was done in the last round, that this is something that'll go out through all the social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, some of these I don't even know what they are, Nextdoor, Instagram, Reddit, newspaper, the VDOT website, of course, and if there's a community newsletter. But what they found was there's a much greater response to this type of public involvement than the standard public hearing where folks show up in a room like this and make comments. But so that's the way that'll be done. So anybody that's on social media ought to know about it, and can make comments and offer suggestions. And then the last 6 months, phase 3, would be taking those suggestions, coming up with a strategy, estimating the costs, and refining the whole process to come up with a package that can be used to submit as a smart scale application when the time comes. So that pretty much summed it up. It's a study to collect data to be used for potential future projects. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Craddock?
I just have one, Mr. Craddock. You've already put us in the hopper, so we don't need to take action to try to send you anything, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
We don't need anything from the board. It's already in the works.
Okay.
But we will be needing we will want you all to be engaged when it comes time for stakeholder engagement and offering suggestions.
From your survey standpoint,
Right.
would you like for the county to also post it on its website?
Sure, the more we can get it out there, the better.
If the board's okay with it, let's let him give it to Dayton, put it on our site, Scott.
And from what I understand, this whole thing is supposed to start March 16th. There's going to be a kickoff meeting. And so I'll be learning, this is new to me too, so I'll be learning more about it at that time. But yeah, I think the more we can get it out there to the public, the more ideas we'll get and the more we'll have to work with.
Well, thank you for having us on the radar, and thank Ms. Bowman for taking the initiative to go out and get some signatures and gauge, what the public wants. So, thank both of you.
And thank y'all.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chair,
Chairman.
more questions?
I had
Yeah, I'm sorry, another question, Jay.
Yes, sir.
First, likewise, let me thank y'all, Ms. Bowman, for your work on that. It became somewhat bittersweet because Sheila Powell, who was killed on 41 at Shopping Center, was an old friend of mine. We went to school together. Jay, I had talked with you about, somebody asked about a traffic study at Orphanage in 41. Would that be part of this package as well?
It is.
And so would it, I guess, be fair to say that the safety study team will incorporate all of the discrepancies from that point all the way out to 57?
No, it's not going that far. It's the section from Orphanage Road, which is the city limits.
Past Robertson or Nell Smith?
Right.
Gotcha.
But the main focus is going to be on the intersections within that stretch. Orphanage Road, Jeanette Drive, Golf Club Road, and Oak Forest Circle. They're the ones that showed up with the biggest potential for safety improvements. They were in the top 100 list of, they call it the PSI list, but that stands for Potential for Safety Improvements. So those intersections in particular will be focused on heavily, but of course to study the intersections, you also have to study a little ways on either side of the intersection.
I got you. How many proposed stoplights you think could go in that area?
That's what the study will determine. I know that's what everybody wants, and that's what the previous study that we did on Orphanage Road was asking for. But this is not just a study to determine if stoplights are warranted. It's a study to determine if a stoplight's not warranted, then what else could we do that might help the situation?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Warren?
Mr. Craddock, please correct me if I'm wrong in my thinking. It appears to me that most of the significant accidents where involve major injuries or fatalities, not only on 41, but I see it a lot on Mount Cross Road too, isn't directly maybe at the intersection. It's where they're at a business and an intersection or both in close proximity. And you got people coming and going in multiple places that are really close that create the problem. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir, I think that is a very accurate statement, and that's one of the reasons why BDOT came up with its access management regulations in 2009. Of course, most of that corridor was developed prior to 2009, but for any new developments coming in, they're required to abide by the new access management regulations, and that's part of what those regulations are trying to address.
And unfortunately, on 41, I was thinking about it while Ms. Bowman was speaking, is that when you look at the roads you mentioned coming into 41, they're not crossovers. They're all coming in to 41 with a stop sign or something, and any turning right or left, it's not an option to go across. So I'm curious to see if the study really indicates that a stoplight is valuable there, because you already got a stop sign at all of them, so.
And another thing that's always considered is, they'll look at all the crashes that happen and the severity of the crashes, but stoplights are not always known for reducing the number of crashes. They may change the type of crash, but a lot of time you'll actually see an increase in crashes with the stoplight, but it may go from being the more serious T-bone type crashes to rear end accidents. So sometimes, depending on the situation, the stoplight might not be the best solution.
Thank you.
I was going to add that, sight distance where Sheila was killed is not an issue. And once your team takes a look at the state police reports, and we've gone through this before, they often see that it was driver error. And one thing that I've seen time and time again is that those folks on 41 speed a lot. A lot. So that brings you to the next potential solution is enforcement. And we know how people like enforcement. But thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
You've been riding behind me.
I paced you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder, Ms. Bowman. Thank y'all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
All right, moving to item 6A, Staff Committee and Constitutional Office Reports, Town of Chatham, County Master Water and Sewer Agreement revision, discussion. Mr. Adcock, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Early last year, we began discussing the need to update and consolidate the multiple water and sewer service agreements that existed between the town of Chatham and the former Service Authority. Some of these went back 40 years, and we had about 4 agreements that we had, instead of updating the existing agreement, new agreements were made when we did certain projects. So we ended up with a big list of agreements. Staff and the board appointee, Mr. Warren, met with town officials several times over the past year and worked out the final agreement, which is on tonight's business meeting agenda, the consent agenda for approval. So I wanted to give some of the highlights of the new agreement. The town will take over operation and maintenance of our Green Rock Prison elevated storage tank, which will eliminate about a $24,000 per year maintenance cost on that tank. They already serve the prison with water and sewer, so our benefit of having that tank is really non-existent. The town will accept operation and maintenance of the gravity sewer line that serves the Green Rock Prison. As I mentioned, Green Rock is already a sewer customer directly with the town. The county's North Chatham sewer customers will be transferred to the town, and the town already serves water to these customers, so it helps consolidate that. So they're not paying 2 separate bills, and they're not calling one entity when they have a problem with water when they should be calling another entity. The transfer of these customers in the north section will also include the maintenance and operation of 2 existing sewer pump stations. The town will accept the county sewer customers in the Tight Squeeze South Industrial Park, which they already serve water to. Same situation with the North Chatham customers. This will include operation and maintenance of an associated sewer pump station on the south end. A master meter is being installed off of our Samuel Harris Lane line in Tight Squeeze, which will meter all of the county's flow to the south in the Dry Fork area. And in addition to those items, the county will receive a rebate on our future water bill that will be calculated based on the difference in the county's former rate and the town's new rate as applied to the transferred sewer customers. Instead of having to wait for an end of the year accounting to determine what the town owes the county or vice versa, we will get 1 quarterly bill for our water usage to our Dry Fork system and to any new extensions we happen to construct off of the county system, off of the town system, But it just eases operation, eases accountability, eases billing for all parties, and it's kind of been a long time coming, and we're happy that we've made it this far to this agreement. So any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Adcock?
Chris, I assume we're not getting knocked over the head with revenue loss on this thing. You think administratively it's going to be a wash?
We looked at the numbers, the amount of revenue that we receive from our Chatham system is very negligible. It's a lot of residential customers on the north side, a few sewer customers that are industrial on the south side, but when you look at what we pay Chatham to treat the sewer, we're just really a middleman. We get a little bit of cut to transfer it to the town's lines, but it's not very substantial at all. And then when you consider our maintenance obligations on those pump stations and the water tanks, it's really, it's almost a wash. I think it will certainly be beneficial and allow our staff to concentrate more on our good revenue producing areas.
And just for the board's edification, this agreement, assuming it's okay with everybody, I know it's been vetted by myself, Mr. Adcock, and Mr. Warren. It's on your consent agenda for approval tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Adcock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7, Mr. Hunt, do we have any business meeting discussions at this time, items?
No, sir.
All righty. Moving to item 8, would you read us into closed session?
Yes, sir. We have one closed session item tonight. Legal authority, Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A1, subject matter, county administrator search / county attorney employment, agreement discussion, purpose, review, and discussion of related next steps. I'll just need a motion, a second, and a vote to go into closed session, please.
Do we have a motion to go in closed session?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chester. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any discussion? If not, we're ready to vote.
Mr. Ingram, is your screen not?
Did it go through?
That's okay. I'll get yours verbally.
Oh, yes, yeah,
Thank
please.
you.
Are we good, Mr. Cluster?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Going into closed session. Thank you.
You can work on this while I'm gone.
There it is.
This will have that girl.